if you have a cancer cell or a senescent cell. The blue phycocyanin knows that it's a cancer or a senescent cell, and instead of speeding up, it ejects it. It turns into capases, which triggers apoptosis. So I call spirulina intelligent food because you have to be intelligent to take it, and it knows what to do in your body. Unbelievable. This is Mother Nature's natural way to protect us from cancer. And chemotherapy companies use it. They use the blue phycocyanin in their cancer treatments now. And you can Google cancer treatments and phycocyanin, and you'll see exactly the same research that I'm reading. So it's been used, it's all documented.
Hello and welcome to the Biohacker podcast. I'm Azra, your host and founder of Biohacker. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach specializing in longevity for women, a health and wellness journalist, writer, corporate consultant, and a biohacking advocate. Biohacker is a space where we can explore ways to optimize our health to live well longer. Whether it's through improving our nutrition, exercising, cryotherapy, supplementation, technology, and more, I'll be bringing you information and interviews with the best longevity experts to help you understand what you can do to optimize your health, prevent disease, and slow down or even reverse the symptoms of aging by taking control of your unique bio-individuality. Want to know more? Let's dive in. Hey, Catherine, welcome to the podcast. You have a business in algae, essentially, but algae isn't exactly the most obvious business to build. What happened in your life that made you go all in on something that most people probably still dismiss as pod scum, really,
I
right?
know they crossed the street to get away from it, and I crossed into it. I went head first, and I'm still there. Thank you for asking. As I was chatting with you earlier, I'm actually Canadian by birth, but have lived in the United States for 35 years. And I mentioned the Canada part because I only have two sisters living, and they are both in Canada. And I'm very close to them. And 18, 19 years ago, my younger sister developed breast cancer. And she completely healed, of course, but her oncologist told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet because would be helpful for her healing. Didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or what specifically it did. So my sister called me, and I have an MBA. I was doing international business, nothing to do with nutrition, nothing. I don't even think biohacking was even an industry at that time. But I love my sister, and I'm a good researcher. So I said, I'll figure it out. And it turned out to be a plant-based diet because and it was the phytonutrients and chlorophyll that have been proven to build your immune system. I have to believe she wanted her to have a strong immune system when she was going through chemotherapy. But as I dug deeper, it turned out that cancer can exist in cells if the pH of the cells are slightly alkaline. This was discovered by Otto Warburg, who won a Nobel Prize for his work in cancer. So I'm sure her oncologist didn't want the cancer to spread any further, hence the alkalinity. So I found foods for her. She changed her diet. She went through chemo. She completely healed. I started learning about plant-based nutrition. I discovered PubMed, which, as you know, is an online library of scientific papers. There's thousands, millions of them. And I had never been exposed to science ever. I mean, other than high school. And I was learning so much. And every time I was reading about alkalinity and the importance for your health, spirulina and chlorella kept being mentioned. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. I want to learn more. So then I started Googling spirulina and chlorella, and there's 100,000 studies documenting the different benefits, for reducing inflammation, improving heart health, brain health, detox. It was endless. And then I started learning more that the Asians have been using it for 60 years. It's been used by the astronauts. NASA feeds it to the astronauts for 50 years. It's been endorsed by the United Nations for 50 years as the answer to world hunger and as a sustainable crop. So I was scratching my head saying, well, this is pretty crazy. It's endorsed by international agencies. It's been used safely for 60 years consistently in Asia. Why don't people know about it? and it has 40 vitamins and minerals, highest protein in the world, highest chlorophyll in the world. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna teach people about algae. It just a voice told me, you have to go out there, you have to tell people about algae. I argued with the voice, by the way, because I kept saying, well, find someone with some science background because I know nothing. But ultimately, the voice was right, because the trouble with algae, I found out, is there's almost too much science about it. Where do you begin? And the thing with scientists, they're fantastic. I couldn't do what I'm doing without all the research they've done. But scientists speak to other scientists or they write scientific papers. That's how they get tenure at university. That's how they get job promotions, with their scientific papers. They don't know how to speak to consumers, and they aren't rewarded for speaking to consumers. And my background in marketing, as you know, 35 years of it, I'm a communicator, and I backed into science. In fact, I got my PhD last year in natural health. So my job, I feel, and it has been for the last 17 years and will be probably for the next decade, is to bring the knowledge of what algae is and does for us to a wider community, the non-science community, because the science is there. So I don't have to convince the scientists. They already know. I don't have to convince the agriculturalists. They already know. Governments know. It's consumers who don't know. So I am all in. I'm more enthusiastic about algae now than I was when I started, because I know more. In fact, I'm writing a book called. It will be published in in the fall, called "Love Your Health to Bits with Algae:
Fabulous.
the four
I like the
billion
title.
the 4 billion-year-old secret to effortless health and longevity." So I'm two-thirds of the way finished. I have 2 more months to finish it, and because I have a publishing date that I have to stick with. I'm writing the book because the podcasts have been helpful, but we're not reaching enough people. They still think algae is pond scum. They still have no idea that it's the first biohack on Earth, and it makes every other biohack work better. So you can just
Mm.
up level in every single way. And I break the science down in the book and also on my podcasts.
Yeah, but why did algae stand out above every other superfood? Because there are a lot of purported superfoods out there. Why did this one stand out in particular for you?
Well, and it was, first of all, it wasn't all the other superfoods. I mean, everything's called a superfood now. Broccoli is considered a superfood. It's the concentration of nutrition and the availability of the nutrition, and the fact that it contains nutrients not found in either any other food or not found in medicinal quantities in any other food. And let me give you a couple of examples. So the two algae we sell, the other thing I love about them is people. I was trying to get people initially to eat more vegetables, but I got so much pushback because they don't like them. It gives them gas. They go bad quickly. It's too much work. And the algae comes in tiny tablets that are about the size of a baby aspirin. So you can swallow them or chew them. It doesn't matter, but there's no taste if you swallow them. So but the concentration, chlorella, so one is chlorella and the other one is spirulina. Chlorella is a green algae, spirulina is a blue-green algae. So just to highlight a couple of the key nutrients, chlorophyll. Chlorella is called chlorella because of the high concentration of chlorophyll. That's where it gets its name from. There is nothing with more chlorophyll than chlorella algae. Even Linus Pauling Institute on their website, you can go on their website. They have a chart showing the different concentrations of other green vegetables like arugula or Chinese greens. Chlorella has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula, 1,000 times more than Chinese greens, and 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll. So, and chlorophyll builds your blood. It's I don't know if you know, but the chemical composition of chlorophyll is virtually identical to your hemoglobin. The only difference is that your hemoglobin has an iron atom in the middle. I was going to show you a chart, and the uh, chlorophyll has a magnesium ion, but otherwise they're identical. So chlorophyll is very important for health. It also kills bacteria, bad bacteria. Here's the chart I wanted to show it. I'm having a hard time seeing me. So I don't know uh, if I can see. Oh, there we go. So I can see what I'm showing you. So this is your hemoglobin, and this is chlorophyll. They're virtually identical. Hemoglobin has the iron atom in the middle, and chlorophyll has the magnesium atom. But there's hardly any chlorophyll in our vegetables anymore. So there's no medicinal quantity of chlorophyll in anything other than maybe liquid chlorophyll. But again, chlorella has more chlorophyll than that. So that's one thing. There's not enough medicinal therapeutic chlorophyll in any of our food anymore. They even used it during World War II to on injuries and to kill bacteria and help with healing. So that's one thing. Um, Another really important nutrient is an antioxidant called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD. Now, this is a very powerful antioxidant that protects the mitochondria because we can do a deeper dive on this in the mitochondria, which is where your cellular energy is created through something called the electron transport chain. What people don't understand is every time you create ATP, which is cellular energy, there's a byproduct called free radicals. It's just the nature of ATP. The type of free radical that is created in the mitochondria is called superoxide, and it's very damaging, and it's only found in the mitochondria. So this antioxidant called superoxide dismutase reduces the free radicals, neutralizes them, and converts them into water and oxygen. There's a couple of steps in between, but that's basically what it does. And your body makes superoxide dismutase for you, just like it makes melatonin and hormones. But it slows down as you get 40, and less of it in 50, and less of it in 60. So this is one of the reasons why chronic disease kicks in after 40, because the protection that the mitochondria used to have with its superoxide dismutase is reduced. And there is no source of superoxide dismutase in any other food. Spirulina has the highest concentration in the world. Chlorella has the second highest. So when you take spirulina, and spirulina is a bacteria, it's called a cyanobacteria. So there's no cellulose wall for your body to break down to get access to any of the nutrients, including the superoxide dismutase. This starts protecting your mitochondria. This helps them generate more energy because there's fewer free radicals leaking out from the electron transport chain. And we can go into a greater deep dive. So that's, again, another nutrient. I'll give you one more and then we can, I'll give you two more actually. So spirulina, we talked about chlorella having the highest chlorophyll in the world. Spirulina is a blue-green algae. It has chlorophyll, but it also has another pigment called phycocyanin. That's the blue pigment that's in spirulina. It doesn't exist anywhere else in nature. Now, a lot of people know about methylene blue. This is a natural, a far better, healthier version of what methylene blue does, and it has no downside. There are some downsides to methylene blue. But one of the cool things that it does, again, not found anywhere else, is that it speeds up the process of making ATP. That's why we call our spirulina EnergyBits. Now you may say, well, how does it do that? In that electron transport chain, there's these proteins that move electrons from one protein to the next, and the end product is ATP. However, there's two helper molecules in that electron transport chain. One people are familiar with, called CoQ10. The other one I'm sure most people have never heard of before is called cytochrome C. And the way I describe these two helper molecules is, and I compare the electron transport chain to like a relay race. The runner in a relay race runs a distance with a baton, and then they pass it to the next runner who runs a distance to the next runner, and they hope to pass the finish line first. So in the electron transport chain, instead of runners, you have these proteins, and instead of a baton, they pass electrons. Now, let's say one of those runners in the relay race was worried that they may run out of steam and may not be able to run fast enough. And while it would be cheating, they might have put a Ferrari in the trees, hidden, so that if they needed to get to the next level, they could jump in the Ferrari, race to the next spot, get out, and pass the baton. That's what this thing called cytochrome C molecule is. It's part of the electron transport chain. There's two helper molecules, one CoQ10. This one's called cytochrome C. When the blue phycocyanin from the spirulina, if in a healthy cell, it knows that it's a healthy cell and it speeds up that helper molecule, that cytochrome C, like a Ferrari. That's one of the reasons why spirulina gives your mitochondria and you prolonged energy, very steady energy. Here's the other cool thing. If that if you have a cancer cell or a senescent cell, the blue phycocyanin knows that it's a cancer or a senescent cell, and instead of speeding up, it ejects it. It
No
ejects
way.
it, it turns into capases, which triggers apoptosis.
Is
So
that
I call
right?
spirulina intelligent food because you have to be intelligent to take it, and it knows what to do in your body. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
This
right?
is Mother Nature's natural way to protect us from cancer. And chemotherapy companies use it. They use the blue phycocyanin in their cancer treatments now. And you can Google cancer treatments and phycocyanin, and you'll see exactly the same research that I'm reading. So it's been used, it's all documented. And if you wanted to see one example of it, because I have it in this paper. So here's an example. Here's a paper, and you can find this online. They took cancer cells and put them in a petri dish and dyed them purple. And then they added phycocyanin, that's how you spell it, Phycocyanin. In 24 hours, the cancer cells went from that to that to that to that to that to that, almost gone.
It's
24
amazing.
hours from
Mm.
phycocyanin. All and it's all everything I say is referenced. So I can't make anything up or my credibility is be gone. So this is another reason why it's a superfood. Killing cancer cells naturally is pretty incredible. And it's not a drug, it's not a supplement, it's food. It's a whole food. It's a foundational food. And the first life on earth, not just the first plant, the first life almost 4 billion years ago. And it's all documented, and it's a whole chapter in my book. It's called The Origin Story. It's pretty fascinating because spirulina is a cyanobacteria, which was the first life on Earth, an anaerobic cell. Um, so those are three of the amazing things. I guess I'll mention the fourth one, what the heck, which is high protein. Spirulina has the highest protein in the
Yes.
world by weight. So, I don't want to deceive anybody. It ranges as high as 70%. Ours are 64%. Not only is it high protein, it's a complete protein. It has the 9 your body can't make and has 18 of the 20, although science has shown there's now actually 22 aminos, but we're going to go with 20 for now. And because spirulina is a bacteria, so no work for your body to break down to get access to the aminos, you absorb it instantly if you chew it. Most people do swallow them, but it takes minutes. So you get bioavailability of it has all the branch chain aminos. So and it's a sustainable crop. So this is why it got the attention 50 years ago of the United Nations because of the high protein and the sustainability issues. So, there's endless other reasons: the B vitamins, all the electrolytes. It's crazy what's in these algae tablets, and it comes naturally. We just grow them very carefully. I can't take credit for algae; that's Mother Nature. Um, but I can take credit for growing it so carefully that we preserve all the nutrients because of the quality of the water. I just came back from Taiwan, which is where we grow ours. And our farms are at the base of a beautiful mountain range. And we had a full video crew with us. So in about a month or two, we'll have tons of video footage of me at the algae farms. You can see the mountain because we're all about transparency. I want people to understand this is real. This is an agricultural crop. This isn't a supplement. This is real food. They've been growing it in Taiwan and Asia for 60 years. And there I am at the farms and where the drying is done, where the tabling is done. Because I want people to know that this is the real deal. So
Yeah, well, I find it quite amazing that there's such a high level of protein in them. It's just that's mind blowing to me. And I think a lot of women really spend a lot of money on green powders, collagen, protein, electrolytes, and supplements, and so on. But you have just articulated today that this is actually a real food. So it's not really a supplement such, it's really nature's superfood that people are consuming, right?
Right. And if anyone on our panel, nutrition panel, we have nutrition panels, not a supplement panel. It's food. Even in America, the FDA regulates it as food because it's an ingredient in other foods. And so what I like to tell people, when you take supplements, and everyone has a big stack these days, there are some high quality producers, although there's a large number that aren't necessarily high quality, and they make them with artificial ingredients and use a lot of high heat, which deactivates pigments and enzymes and antioxidants. But think of supplements like individual. Let's say you go to a music school, and it's maybe even if it's college, but they're still starting. In each room is a different musician with a different instrument playing a different sheet music, and they don't harmonize, and it's like static on the radio those days when you have radios in your car. So it's like jarring. That's individual supplements don't work together. Algae is food. Algae is like the orchestra. When you go and listen to a symphony with an orchestra, you have the winds and you have the brass and you have the percussionists and maybe you have a soloist, but everybody works together and the sound collectively is so rich, and it's almost emotional because you get sounds that you couldn't have individually. That's the difference between taking individual supplements and algae, because algae is that. It has all the factors and cofactors, the enzymes and coenzymes, the everything up levels. And I've recently discovered exosomes, and I'm going to be hopefully putting a chapter about because I'm relatively new to the concept of exosomes, and what they are little carriers of of information. Often it's the non-coding RNA that's in there. And it's in plants, and so and algae apparently has the highest concentration of these exosomes. So when you eat plant-based food like algae, it's not just the nutrients, it's these little communications that carry the nutrients along. Because here's the thing, most cells have what's called receptor cells. And so to get the right information, the right nutrients in, it has to find that receptor cell and then get in. And the trouble is we have so many toxins in our world and they're in our bodies. It's like having someone stealing your parking spot. So that's why I love chlorella so much, because you can't get into your parking spot if someone is already there. Chlorella will pull the toxins out. It's like the tow truck or the police force. So now the nutrients maybe from the spirulina can get in. But with exosomes, they have a VIP pass into all of your cells. They do not require receptor cells, which makes them so powerful for getting correct nutrition and communication wherever it needs to go. And so that's another chapter I'm just exploring myself about the value of spirulina chlorella, because apparently they have the most exosomes of any plant ever. And I'm still learning about that, so I can't give you any science references, but I will find some.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. It's fascinating stuff. I'm curious though, why tablets instead of powders? Because when we look at the market at the moment, there's lots of greens powders out there that are popular, and even with spirulina as well. Why tablets instead of powders?
Well, when I started the company, there were two issues. I decided if I was going to do this, I had to take algae to everyone. And what I learned because I taught nutrition for a year, trying to get people to eat more greens, and what I learned was that they didn't want anything that tasted like greens. They didn't want to work at it. They just wanted, it's fast. They want something fast. And so
Yeah.
even with powders, it's really almost impossible to disguise the flavor. When you have tablets and you swallow them, zero flavor, nothing. And it's not like I can't take fish oil because I get repeat, like I keep tasting it,
Mm,
or I can't take supplements on an empty stomach or when I'm fasted because it makes me nauseous.
same.
This They're both unbelievable on empty stomachs. Great for fasting, especially spirulina. Great for exercising, working out in a fasted state. No repeats, no stomach distress, no nausea. So that's the other reason why I wanted tablets, because it was easy and portable. I mean, if anyone's travels with their greens powders, I know you can get some that are individually packaged, but if the lid comes off, that is not a pretty thing. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Never happens with the tablets, and we do sell them in little travel-sized pouches, so you can toss them in your gym bag, handbag. You don't need anything. You don't need water. You don't need a bottle to shake them together. There's no cleanup. There's no flavor. You can grind them up if you want and put them into a smoothie. So you can make them into powder. So so that was the main reason, the simplicity, that you didn't have to taste them if you didn't like the flavor, that they would be much easier to travel with. And I travel a lot, so I was sensitive to that. And it was just going to be easier. So, and as a small startup 17 years ago, I didn't have, frankly, the budget to buy both powder and tablets. And so
Sure.
I was focusing on ease of transport and uh, trying to accommodate people who didn't want to have the flavor of green. So the tablets are what did the trick.
Yeah, well, definitely more practical for sure. Look, women in midlife often say that they're sleeping and they're eating well or they're training, but they're still exhausted. From a mitochondrial and cellular energy perspective, what's usually missing?
Well, a couple of things that's happened in menopause. So obviously our hormones are dropping, and what a lot of people don't know is that estrogen actually acts as an antioxidant at the mitochondria level. And as I mentioned earlier, once you hit the age of 40 and then 50, which is when perimenopause and menopause is hitting, your superoxide dismutase is dropping as well. And the superoxide dismutase is the main antioxidant that protects the mitochondria. So women get hit twice as hard because we're losing the superoxide dismutase, so are men, but we're also losing estrogen, which was an antioxidant for the mitochondria. So we get hit twice as hard. Now, the other thing I need to point out is that one of the things that hits women particularly are brain fog, depression. And there's a great book by Dr. Chris Palmer, who is a psychiatrist and also in the medical school at Harvard. And his entire book, Brain Energy, is about how all brain issues, depression, post traumatic stress disorder, every single thing is due to damaged mitochondria. And this is because your brain has the most mitochondria in your entire body. There's almost 2 million mitochondria per cell, basically per neurotransmitter in your brain. So when your mitochondria, the next highest, by the way, you'll be interested to know, are women's eggs, ocellates. And the third highest is your heart. And the fourth are muscles. Skin and fat have virtually none. So if you notice, the things where you have the highest mitochondria are where the greatest energy needs are. It takes a lot of energy to make a baby. It takes a lot of energy to think. Your brain uses 20% of your energy, and obviously your heart is critical. So when you're getting into the menopause, perimenopause, and your estrogen is dropping, at the same time your superoxide dismutase is dropping, the thing that's the most exposed is your brain. So women suffer twice as much as men with diminished brain capability. This is why women. One of the reasons why women have more Alzheimer's. We lose all this protection. So that's one. And so because spirulina has this high concentration of superoxide dismutase that can get into the mitochondria and start protecting it, reducing the free radicals, you'll start to see the mitochondria efficiency pick up, and they will start replicating again. So it's not a downward spiral; it's an intervention. It's a spirulina intervention. So that's one thing. Another thing that's not talked about much at all, and I kind of stumbled into it. I was doing an interview with Dave Asprey, um, has to do with iron. Now, there's circulating iron and stored iron. When you get your ferritin measured at the doctor, it's generally measuring your circulating iron. That's the iron that's in your blood. And a lot of younger women actually have low iron levels. Now, and think of your circulating iron. The analogy I make is like your checking account. Your checking account goes up and down based on what you spent, what you deposited. And so in your blood, your circulating iron changes based on what you did, what you ate. It's constantly evolving. Then you have something called stored iron. This is more like your savings account. Doesn't change very much at all. Now, the reason this came up with a conversation with Dave Asprey is because we were talking about how men traditionally die about 8 years earlier than
Mm.
women. And nobody really knows why. A lot of people say it's because they don't listen to their wives. They're doing too many extreme sports and eat too much meat and too much coffee. Maybe some of that's true. But men have much higher stored iron than women. Why is this an issue? Because remember I said when you have this superoxide dismutase protecting the mitochondria and it converts the superoxide free radical into water and oxygen, there's actually an intermediary step where it's converted into hydrogen peroxide. And then after that hydrogen peroxide, it needs manganese to then convert to oxygen and water. But manganese gets absorbed through the same pathway as iron, and iron always trumps manganese. So in men, where they have more stored iron, when you go through that conversion of the superoxide dismutase into hydrogen peroxide, instead of grabbing manganese, it grabs iron, which now makes it pro-inflammatory. What should have been anti-inflammatory is now pro-inflammatory. So two things happen. Now you have more ROS, which are reactive oxygen species, and you don't get that oxygen and water. And you need oxygen as the final step in ATP. So we decided probably one of the reasons why men are dying earlier is like that, because that iron. Have you ever seen a car abandoned in a yacht in a yard, or a boat that's sitting on a dock? It's got rust on it, right? That's iron oxidizing. So men literally are oxidizing at a faster rate than women are. You're literally rusting from the inside. So here's the thing with women. Women don't have high stored iron for most of their life because we have menstruation. We lose blood every month, which pulls out the stored iron into your circulating iron. So you never have that issue. You don't have as much. The average man has 1,000 milligrams of stored iron. The average woman premenopausal has 300. However, once you hit menopause and you are no longer menstruating, the levels of iron go right up to the same level that men have, which means you are starting to have more oxidation at the cellular level, which causes more mitochondrial damage. At the same time, you're losing superoxide dismutase, and the same time you're losing estrogen. It's a trifecta that damages women's mitochondria incredibly. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it is unbelievable because when you think about the comparable differences is there between men and women that you've outlined is just a little bit mind blowing to be honest. It's just crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Do you think that the algae is the missing link for blood sugar crashes? Because a lot of us experience that around 3 p.m., right? Where we hit that time and we're looking for that cup of coffee or that cup of tea. How does spirulina help to stabilize that without having to rely on caffeine or sugar?
Well, it's that high protein, and because it's spirulina in particular is loaded with B vitamins. If you ever looked at an energy drink, you'll see there's tons of B vitamins which convert into energy. So you get a lift immediately, not a huge lift. It's not like caffeine or sugar, but your mind wakes up, your body feels more alert. The way I describe it is you feel fresh. That's it. And it's food. So you could have 10 tablets, 15, 30. Sometimes people, I eat them all day long. I eat both of them. You won't get energy from spirulina, but you get energy from, just from chlorella, only from
Can you
spirulina.
take too
So,
many? You say you eat them all day long, but is there like a point where you shouldn't take too many,
well,
or what's the recommended
probably
dosage?
not. 200 would probably be, a little crazy, but I've
Yeah.
had probably 100, at least 100 combined every
Wow.
day for 17 years. And I had some blood work recently. I have zero inflammation. All my markers are great. My biological age is much lower than my chronological age. By the way, I turned 70 this year in a few months, seven
Wow.
zero, right?
Congratulations. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
and I travel and I run a company, I'm writing a book, and we're launching new products and blah, blah, blah. So this will not only get you over the hump, that 2 o'clock hump, because that's when your cortisol drops. And so that's when everybody it's biological. So, and you're looking for something to snack on, and this will curve your appetite because it's rich with protein, 40 vitamins and minerals, so you're nourished. Also, if you're on a GLP-1, please, please, please take this because you will have muscle wasting, if because this will prevent that. But this will give you that lift mentally, physically, nourish you. It's not a supplement. There's no sugar, no caffeine, 1 calorie. You can chew it or swallow it, put it in a smoothie. Doesn't matter. And we feel NHL teams, NFL teams, the NHL teams, they take 75 spirulina before a game because they want lots of focus and energy on the ice. And they take 75 chlorella after the game because one of the things, because it's a detoxing algae, one of the things it pulls out is lactic acid. So their muscles aren't sore. It also pulls out alcohol. And we know that hockey players like to drink a lot of beer. So I'm sure that that's one of the reasons they like it as well. So um, generally, to get started, I suggest people start with 10 spirulina, usually in the morning or afternoon, because, and again, they're very, very tiny. You can swallow them or chew them. That'll just fill nutritional gaps. Now, for therapeutic purposes, if you want to correct a condition or prevent one, or you want to have a mini lunch because they get absorbed right away, 30 would be what we would recommend. But 10 will get you started and fill the nutritional gaps. And if you took 10 to 30, you can eliminate about 5 other supplements. You don't need a multivitamin. You don't need a CoQ10, and we can talk about that later on. You don't need fish oil. Please stop taking fish oil. Most of it's rancid. Where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from? They get it from algae. And this stuff never goes rancid, so you can replace multi. You don't need collagen powder unless you're trying to heal your tendons or something. But it's got all the aminos. They're not organized like collagen, but it's the same aminos. You don't need a biotin. This is all my own hair. Your skin needs elastin and collagen, and your hair also needs protein. So this is very efficient, quick and easy. Gives you both the lift that you want mentally and physically, and it has lots of other benefits. So this would be the one to take in the morning or the afternoon, especially for that 2 o'clock slump. Now, chlorella, you could take any time of day, but definitely before bed. And why is that? That's because your body goes through a detox repair cycle when you're sleeping. Deep sleep is where the action is. Your brain actually shrinks in deep sleep. So it's like it has its own lymphatic system. It's called the glymphatic system. So chlorella pulls out toxins, heavy metals, glyphosate, pesticide, alcohol. So when you're sleeping, when you have chlorella in your system, you're going to get a much better cleaning of your cells and of your brain. Also, chlorella contains the highest tryptophan in the world. It's another one of those superfood nutrients, which is a precursor to melatonin, which helps you sleep. It's also a precursor to serotonin, which is your happy mood transmitter. Ladies, I'm talking to you because we know this is an issue in menopause. I'm very happy all the time, very energized too. And also serotonin, I didn't know this at first. It improves bowel movements. Because I knew chlorella was always good. They've been using it for IBS and Crohn's and bowel movements for decades, but I wasn't sure what exactly it was. It's the combination of the chlorophyll and the serotonin, which is triggered by the tryptophan. So I'm learning that constipation is a very big issue for everybody, particularly women. And if you're on any kind of medication, if you're traveling, if you're not eating a lot of vegetables, if you're not moving a lot, if you're stressed, constipation, right? This is your answer. So once again, you could take 10 tablets to get the chlorophyll and help with some bowel movements. But for detox, you do need the closer to 30 tablets. But this one tastes delicious. This tastes more like a sunflower seed or a soy nut.
Okay.
Most people enjoy eating this one with sea salt. I eat it also with pistachio nuts or any kind of trail mix. So it can be like your late night snack. Although if you're doing the true biohacking protocol, you don't eat food 2 hours before bed. But this gets into your system. This gets absorbed. Does not require digestion. So this would be fine to take prior to bed. It wouldn't interfere. Doesn't interfere with fasting. Same with spirulina. Does not interfere. Even Mindy Peltz confirms that it's because the protein quantity is high in concentration but low in actual grams, so it doesn't trigger, doesn't push you out of your fasted state. So morning, night doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's good to know because a lot of people are trying to find ways to ensure that they don't break their fast, particularly if they're intermittent fasting. And I know personally that I've thought the same. I'm like, okay, well, what can I take and what can't I take? Um, and I like the fact, yes, absolutely, I'll have to get some. And I like the fact that it helps with cravings, and also for me personally, I find that that 3 p.m. slump time where I'm craving some sort of protein, or that's a really convenient, quick, healthy way to be able to get your protein intake without, reaching for something that's full of sugar or something that's unhealthy for you. I think that that's a really, really good option. So thank you for outlining that.
Yes, I'm very sensitive to sugar. I can't eat any sugar. Even fruit is sometimes problematic. So there's no sugar in this at all.
I like the idea of it being used by athletes and being a source of energy for them. For pre-workout or post-workout, what would your recommendations for
Yes.
that
So
be?
pre-workout would be spirulina. Also, any kind of biohacks if you're doing red light therapy, saunas, cold plunge, cryotherapy, hyperbaric. Try to take 10 or 15 before the workout or your cryo or biohacking. More would be better. If you could take the full 30, that would be awesome. But 15 will help uh, get you that more solid feeling for your workout. It's again no sugar, and it works at the cellular level. So you'll either lift more or run further, and you won't even notice it. And that's why, for the first, interestingly, when I first started the company, I was by myself, and all I could afford to hire were interns, and they're fresh out of college, and the only sport they could afford to do was running. So a lot of my team were runners, and then their friends were runners, and their friends were blog runners. Bottom line is, bloggers found out how great this was for running. It gave you sustained energy without upsetting your stomach, like Gatorade or goo or any of those other gels and things. And then we got noticed by triathletes and marathon runners and Olympic athletes. So turned into a sports nutrition company. For the first 7 years, we were a sports nutrition company, and then they were taking the chlorella after their sport to pull out the lactic acid and help build their immune system. Um, but I couldn't get retailers to sell the product because they were only like $5 each. So we pivoted into wellness and started focusing in the wellness and then ultimately the biohacking space.
New research is now pointing to algal proteins as being capable of stimulating muscle anabolic pathways. Could algae become part of the muscle preservation conservation for women focused on aging powerfully, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Because now we all know that proteins and aminos are important for muscles. But I've learned this recently, and I'm just going to put this in my book. There are 100,000 proteins in your body, so it's more than muscles. Proteins are needed, as I mentioned, in the mitochondria for that electron. Those runners are proteins. And so if you don't have enough protein, your mitochondria aren't going to work properly. Some proteins are work like enzymes. This is what's so confusing about cellular biology. You might have an antioxidant, but it's also an enzyme and it's also a protein. It can be multiple things. But you absolutely, for muscle preservation, you need two main things. You need amino acids and you need resistance training. I can't take you to the gym, but I can promise that when you get there, you will have the a maximum benefit from your workout because you are nourishing your cells in a way that will give them what they need in the moment and help them rebuild when it's over.
I wonder whether it's a great option for those that are 80 plus years of age who might struggle to consume a steak or whatever. And, obviously sarcopenia kicks in as we get older and looking for other options in terms of getting the right amount of protein in it. This might be a great option for them, right?
Absolutely. And if you're a carnivore, please consider this as well. A lot of people go carnivore because of the lectins and oxalates that are found in many plants, like the nightshades and kale and spinach and almonds. But and if you're not familiar with lectins and oxalates, they're very sharp proteins that are found in plants, and the plants develop them to protect themselves from bugs and predators because they upset the stomachs of the bugs and predators. But algae started in the ocean. So it's never been a land plant. So it never had to develop that kind of protection. So carnivores, you can eat these too because you're missing important chlorophyll. Chlorophyll not only is like, helps build your blood, but it's also a fat based pigment which heals your cell walls. It kills bad bacteria. And no finger pointing here, but I have a lot of carnivore friends, and I'm sorry, you have bad breath because a lot of the meat gets stuck in your teeth and the bacteria attack it, and it just is what it is. Chlorophyll kills bad bacteria. So I should definitely encourage you to take chlorella for that reason. And if you could chew it, that's even better because it will also kill the bacteria in your mouth, particularly. So it just is what it is. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's good for everybody for every reason. You may take it for energy, but you'll get better skin. You may take it for better sleep, but you'll get a better poop and you'll get rid of bad bacteria. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like a Swiss Army knife.
It sounds like it. Detox gets thrown around so loosely these days, I think. When you say chlorella supports detoxification, what's actually happening in the body?
Well, we read a statistic. I don't have the reference in front of me that the average American has 700 toxins in them. Now they're finding babies are born, and when they test the umbilical cord, there's like 200 toxins on the first day of birth. I mean, that's crazy. So these are things that are inserting themselves into your lymphatic system, into your brain, into your cell receptors. So toxins by the time you hit 40 or 50, you've accumulated a lot of toxins. If a baby has 200, by the time you're 40 or 50, you're going through menopause or what's the male version? They call it something else. Anyways, we have a lot of toxins, and the toxins are in the organs, they're in your cellular structure, and in your blood. So when you're detoxing with chlorella. It had this hard cell wall has polysaccharides. They're not 100% sure of how it actually works, but it does identify toxins because even alcohol, your body converts it into toxins. Microplastics convert into toxins. All these glyphosate, pesticide, mold spores. So the chlorella identifies the toxins and attaches to them and what's called chelates them. So your body has four pathways for removing toxins. You have breath, sweat, urine, and bowel movements. Sweating, saunas, or exercise are a great way to get rid of to sweat and get rid of those toxins. And then you definitely want chlorella. It's the cleanup crew. It's like going to a Taylor Swift concert and it's cleaning all the sticky gum and popcorn off the floor. So this is your cleanup crew. I say it's like giving your body a shower from the inside. So it will work within an hour and a half to clean out your blood because your blood is very porous. That's why you will know we've had people write us that it saved their bachelorette party in Vegas or they were at their wedding or just their party because they were the only ones that took it. So that's the way you can know for sure that it's working. It will just clean it out of your blood in an hour and a half and you'll be stone sober. Your cells to clean the toxins out of your cells takes about closer to 7 to 10 days because it has, and you have to have enough. If you don't have the full 30 serving, and even there's a doctor by the name of Dr. Klinghardt. He's German, but he's been working out of a clinic of his own in Seattle, I think, for 30 years. He's a big proponent of chlorella as well. And he also says you have to take enough of it because if there isn't enough of it, it's like carrying your groceries from your car to your house and the bags are too thin and you drop your groceries all the way up your your driveway, and by the time you get to the house, there's nothing in your bag anymore. So it's sort of like chlorella. If you don't take enough of it, it's going to just drop the toxins, and then they'll get reabsorbed. So you want the full 20 to 30 preferably. So cells take 7 to 10 days. Now organs take longer because they're a much denser structure, and it could take up to 6 months to detox from your organs. But and some people will have a bit of a detox reaction. You never get a detox reaction from spirulina because it's cleansing. It does not detox. Chlorella is definitely a detoxer. So, and what can you expect? Well, it doesn't happen to everybody, but you might get some breakouts. You might get some headaches. You might get some stomach upset, maybe a bit of diarrhea. But it only lasts for a day or two while your body's adjusting to pulling the toxins out. And it's not from the chlorella. What's happening is it's pulling the toxins out of the cells into your bloodstream, where now it has to circulate again on its way out through breath, sweat, urine, or bowel movements. So the reason you're feeling this isn't from the chlorella, it's from the fact that it's like kicking a bee nest that's been hiding under a chair. Well, it's there, it's not great, but if you kick it, all the bees are all over the place and they can sting you. So this is like kicking the bees out of the cells into the bloodstream, and so they're buzzing around and causing havoc. So it's the toxins that are circulating that are making you feel unpleasant, and it doesn't happen to everybody, and it will not last forever. But it does happen only with chlorella.
It is, but it does have that bonding capacity, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. What about with mold? Does it help to reduce mold
Same
burden
thing
as
with
well?
mold. In fact, I moved into a brand new condo here in Florida, and when I was doing some renovations, and then they ripped out my floorboards, sloppy construction, tons of black mold. We had to remediate twice, cut all my walls out, and the month previous to that, and I'm always high energy. I had no energy. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even structure a sentence. I thought, what is going on? Turns out I had mold poisoning, but I knew chlorella was, and I went to a functional medicine doctor, and I was better within 3 weeks, completely healed. It did cause Epstein-Barr to be re-engaged. Often mold does that, but it's not. It's much better now. But I healed myself from mold poisoning just from chlorella. I was taking 60 a day, and it works because and it works also with Lyme. It's not. There's another part of the protocol for Lyme where you have to take stevia tinctures, which kill the mites, and then the chlorella will pull the dead mites out, so you're not as toxic because you don't want them sitting around. So yeah, it works for mold as well. Yeah,
Mm.
and you're still getting all those other benefits. You're getting 60% protein, 40 vitamins and minerals. It's helping all the other pathways, detox pathways, bowel movements.
Yeah, right. Do you think algae is also being overlooked as a cardiometabolic longevity tool for women?
As a cardio, oh, absolutely. Women have as many heart attacks as men. We tend to get them later than men. Um, and I'm not really sure why, but heart attacks are still the main cause of death for men and women. And again, your heart is the third highest concentration of mitochondria. So you want to be sure that you're feeding your organs with this superoxide dismutase so that it can reduce the amount of free radical damage. Also, a lot of cardiology disease comes from damaged arteries. And what's happening in the arteries is that either from too much sugar or insulin spikes or not enough vitamin K2 or 1,000 other reasons, there's damage done to the arteries. And so the white blood cells come in and try to heal it. So you get a layer um, of blood cells, white blood cells, which then makes the blood vessel narrower. And also related to that is vitamin K2. In North America, almost everyone is deficit in vitamin K2. What does vitamin K2 do? It moves excess calcium out of soft tissue like your brain, your skin, your organs, and your blood vessels, and moves the calcium into your bones and your teeth where it's stored. A lot of arterial sclerosis, which is a hardening of the arteries, is not just that white blood cell buildup, it's calcium. So spirulina and chlorella have the daily requirement of K2, which removes the excess calcium and deposits it where it should be safely stored in your bones. The chlorella, especially, and the spirulina in particular, the spirulina works so quickly because, again, it gets absorbed so quickly that your cholesterol levels will drop. Your blood pressure will drop in a week, all from food. So now your blood can circulate because all that, the narrowing of those arteries that could have led to a heart attack or a stroke, are opening again so that the blood can move, easily and get to the heart, among other places. And you won't have the plaque breaking off and causing a stroke, which is what causes stroke. So very, very important for heart health, for sure. It's interesting because I was reading a paper a while ago that, trying to think of the eye disease, glaucoma. I think it's glaucoma. Your eye is part of your brain. It's the front part of your brain. So the concentration of mitochondria in your eye is the same concentration as your brain, highest in your body. So what they're finding is that glaucoma is often caused by damaged mitochondria. And they're realizing that it's a predictor of a future heart attack. So, and there's lots of papers on this too. There's still a lot of disconnect between the eye specialists and heart specialists. But I had this happen to a very good friend of mine I grew up with. He was diagnosed with glaucoma, a healthy guy, exactly my age. In fact, we're born on exactly the same day, known each other all of our childhood. And he was a big skier, and he went out skiing one day, 6 months after being diagnosed with glaucoma, had a heart attack and died on the spot. Crazy. So, if you have any glaucoma diagnosis, look into it because the mitochondria damage, if it's damaged in your eye, it's damaged everywhere, and it's a predictor of potential damage in your heart. And if we can prevent a heart attack or any other kind of major event earlier, and if we can get your heart healthier earlier and your blood pressure down earlier without drugs, this can replace so many of those drugs, and it's natural. It's food.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
You can't argue with that.
So, no, you certainly can't. There are so many benefits that you've outlined today. What's your personal daily protocol right now in terms of timing and dose?
The first thing I do when I get up in the morning is I have fresh water, filtered water, and fresh squeezed lemon, which is really good for your liver. Just helps with cleansing. And I drink a tea. It's called yerba mate, which is actually the national drink of Argentina, and it has more antioxidants than green tea. I drink green tea for the rest of the day. And then I have a blend. I probably have about 30. I don't count them. I just grab handfuls. A blend, maybe 30 or 40, maybe even 50 of spirulina chlorella. I eat them with sea salt because you also want to restore your electrolytes. So I have sea salt. I love a flavor. I can get Himalayan sea salt flavored with salt and vinegar, which I love. So I have my water with the lemons to restore the water. Then I have my tea, which just I like, and then I have probably 50, maybe even 60 because I just chow them back with sea salt, and then that keeps me going till maybe about 1 o'clock. So I do my fasting that way, intermittent fasting. I generally eat one major meal a day. If I can make it to two or three, then I have a full meal. It could be eggs, it could be salad. I always eat protein. And I have to admit, I'm eating less vegetables because so much glyphosate everywhere. And I rely on my algae to give me the greens that I need and the fiber in my bowel movements. By the way, I have another tip on bowel movements because it's near and dear to my heart. Fresh pineapple. Ladies, if you take chlorella and fresh pineapple, it's the bromelain in the fresh pineapple. It's always also good for healing any kind of injuries. It's not that high in sugar. It satisfies your sweet flavor. I don't have it in the morning, but I have it later in the day if I want something sweet. But I'll tell you, it's magic when it comes to digestion and elimination. And again, it's
Mm.
food. So there's my little side tip.
I love it.
So there's
We
always
get lots of
pineapple in my fridge.
I love it too. We get lots of great pineapple here in Australia, and yeah, we have it
Yeah,
daily as
yeah,
well. It's really great.
yeah.
For the woman who's listening today and who's curious but still thinking about the benefits of what you've outlined today, maybe they're saying, surely this can't make that much difference. What would you say she would notice in the first 7 to 10 days of taking energy bits?
Well, if you take both of them, your energy will be stable, certainly better and stable. Your hunger will be lower and stable. Your cravings will be gone, almost completely gone. Your focus will be better. Your fitness levels will be more, I wouldn't say completely effortless, but they'll be more enjoyable because you have that energy. You might end up eating less because you're not hungry, which means you might lose weight. When you're losing weight, you're also getting rid of fat. And guess where your body stores toxins? In your fat. So that's why you want chlorella, because as you lose weight, you want to have the cleanup crew pulling them out. So your sleep will be better. Your bowel movements will be better. You'll start to notice, skin turnover takes, it's like 29 days when you're younger. It's longer when you're older. So after about 30 days, your skin will be clearer. Your hair will grow faster. Your nails will grow faster. I can't keep my nails short enough. Every week, they're like another inch, I swear to God. So you will notice all of these little nuances. Eventually, if you're like me, you'll go, I don't know how I ever lived without this stuff. By the way, your grocery bill will go down because you're not as hungry. You're not eating as much. You don't have to cook as much. You'll have more free time. I don't know. Instead of asking yourself, why would I take spirulina or chlorella? You should be asking yourself, why wouldn't I? It replaces multivitamins. It replaces lots of groceries. It gets rid of excess weight. It helps you sleep. It helps you poop. It makes you look better. Makes you feel better. I don't know.
So
and
why
and I'm
wouldn't
not
you, right?
lying. It just is what it is. It's science-based. I mean, I want you to trust me because if I tell you something that's not gonna be, ethical or honest, and at the same time, the blue phycocyanin is zapping off some cancer cells. If you're taking chemotherapy, the chlorella will pull excess out, so you're not as nauseous. I also didn't mention the blue phycocyanin has what's called anti-angiogenesis properties, which stops the growth of blood vessels to tumors. All science-based, all proven. Um, yeah, honestly, uh,
Amazing.
I will.
Really amazing.
I was on another podcast recently, and last question he said is, "When on the day that you die, what do you wish people would think of?" And he said, in just a couple of words, what would you say? And I said, I would say, trust algae. Honestly, trust algae. That's it. Mother
Yeah.
Nature at her best. She
Well, you can't
wants you
beat
to
Mother
have this
Nature.
first life on
That's
Earth.
it.
She's one of the girls, remember? She's
She
one of
is
us.
indeed. She is, and she's got our backs, that's for sure, and looks out for us for sure.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
Catherine, it's been such an amazing conversation with you to do this deep dive into algae and chlorella. It's been really fascinating, and your wealth of knowledge, I'm sure, is going to be a great benefit to our listeners. So thank you so much for joining me today on the pod.
Well, thank you. And also, we have a 20% discount code for your listeners. Now, we don't ship to Australia, but if you come to our website, EnergyBits.com, and use the discount code Biohackher, all one word, you'll get 20% off anything. The bags, we have canisters and single servings. I just want to mention one thing. The bags are the best value. Normally they're 130, but with the discount code, it brings it down to 104. And if you took 10 tablets a day, and with the discount code Biohackher, 10 tablets works out to $1 a day. You can't buy a coffee for $1 a day. So 10 of this and 10 of that, $2 a day for energy and recovery and sleep and poop. I mean, really, Now, and 30, if you took 30, which is the therapeutic amount, it still lasts a month, and it's still only $3 a day, and it will replace so many other your other foods and supplements. So, and for Australian listeners, we do have a couple of Australian companies working with us. So if you come to energybits.com, the website will see your URL, or whatever it's called in technology words,
URL,
and
yeah.
a drop down will show you the names of the two websites that we use. I think one is called Health, Hebron Health, and the other one is called Ossia Center. But if you come to energybits.com, you'll find those two. You'll be redirected to them. The discounts, unfortunately, don't work there. But if you are in America, or we ship almost. Unfortunately, Australian government is very, very difficult to work with. We tried for years to ship to Australia, and we kept getting stuff done, abandoned or shipped back to us. And so we finally had to work with a couple of companies that were located there. So I do apologize to our Aussie friends. But anyways, you can find it somewhere else. And also just come to the website to learn. We write a blog every month. We're very active on social media. At EnergyBits is our handle. We're very science oriented. I've recorded 300 teaching videos. They're only a minute and a half, so you don't have to watch for 2 hours. And God bless you if you've watched this long with this podcast. I'm here to educate people about the benefits of algae. It's up to you whether you want to try it or not. We also sell through Amazon, but the discounts codes don't work there. But what have you got to lose, right? I say it's never too
Exactly.
late to feel great. And it doesn't matter what age you're at, protect what you have, regain what you've lost, and do it with Mother Nature's best discovery other than us. And it's food. So give it a try.
Fabulous. For sure. And we'll include those links in the show notes as well, so people can access those various websites as well. So hopefully those listeners here in Australia will be able to get some of these energy bits into them in the not too distant future. Thanks again, Catherine.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks, Azra.
Well, that's a wrap for today's podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to learn more about biohacking, go ahead and sign up on my website at www.biohack-her.com to get a free copy of my 5 top biohacks to get you kick-started. While you're there, you can also check out my blog page for more tips on biohacking. If you'd like to subscribe to this podcast, you can do so on Apple, Spotify, and Google Play. Let us know if there's anyone you'd like us to talk to in particular, and we'll endeavour to get them on the podcast. Until next time, remember to live well longer.